Have you ever wondered why, despite following all the steps, ticking every box, and doing everything you thought you were supposed to do, you still end up feeling lost, like you're wandering through life with a map that's missing the most important landmarks? You wake up, go to work, meet expectations, do your best, and yet, deep down, something feels off. It's as if you are pursuing success in the eyes of the world, but you're not sure you even care about what you're supposed to be aiming for. Maybe you've experienced moments where you're surrounded by friends, yet loneliness seeps in. Or perhaps you reach a milestone you believed would make you happy, but the joy fades as quickly as it arrived. You might spend your entire week busy, always moving, always hustling, only to collapse into bed, wondering if any of it truly matters. You're not alone. Most people, at some point, find themselves in this place. They feel disconnected, adrift, and unfulfilled, even as they work harder, acquire more, and try to keep up with expectations. Why does this happen? Why does it feel like something crucial is always missing, no matter how good things look on the outside? The answer lies in alignment with your core values. Values are like the inner compass that guides your choices, reactions, and satisfactions. When you live out of alignment with your core values, life feels flat and directionless, no matter how much you achieve. But when you know your values and you honor them each day, life starts to feel meaningful. Relationships deepen, energy returns, and decisions become clearer. If you feel lost, if you're searching for that sense of meaning and direction, it's time to look inward, not at what you should do or what you own or where you're going, but at who you truly are and what matters most to you. This journey starts by uncovering your core values, the 5 principles that define you. So, what are values? They're not goals. Goals are future destinations, the things we want to reach or achieve, like running a marathon, getting a promotion, or learning another language. They're not dreams either. Those visions that inspire us, motivate us, or tell us what could be possible. Dreams are important, but they shift and evolve, depending on our interests and the seasons of our lives. Values are different. They're the unshakable principles that run deeper than anything else. Values are what you hold dear, the guiding beliefs that shape your thoughts, behavior, and relationships, consciously or unconsciously. They govern how you make decisions, how you react in adversity, and what brings you real satisfaction. For example, if you deeply value honesty, you'll feel uneasy when you're asked to hide the truth, even if it seems small or insignificant. If you honor freedom, you may struggle with rigid routines and structures, craving space and autonomy instead. If growth is a core value, you'll be drawn to new challenges, always eager to learn and expand, rather than settling into comfort. Some people value family above all else. Happiness means sharing meals, supporting each other, and being present during meaningful moments. Others prize creativity, always finding joy in expression, innovation, or building something new. For some, faith is at the center, providing a foundation of purpose and trust, no matter what. Adventure might call some, drawing them into the unknown, urging them to explore and take risks. And here's the thing: values can't be copied. You can't adopt someone else's and expect fulfillment. Your values are yours alone. When you know them, you find direction. When you live them, you find fulfillment. But what happens when you don't know your values? When you haven't taken the time to identify or define them, you drift. You say yes when you should say no. You end up living on autopilot, reacting to circumstances, people, and pressures around you, rather than acting intentionally. Your life gets filled with the expectations and desires of others, often well-meaning, but rarely perfect for you. Consider the consequences. You say yes to things that don't light you up, commitments that drain you instead of energizing you, projects you regret starting, or relationships that don't feed your soul. You burn out, chasing success in someone else's definition rather than your own, because you never stop to ask, is this truly what I want? You attract people and opportunities that are mismatched, and you find yourself making decisions that go against your own grain. The result is anxiety, restlessness, or a nagging sense of emptiness. You might accomplish a lot, but enjoy very little of it. You conform, you please, you hustle, and you still feel like a stranger to yourself. Stuck in a life that looks good on paper, but feels wrong in your heart. The good news? It all changes when you get clear on your core values. But how do you find your 5 values? The ones that truly define who you are. It begins with looking inward, reflecting on your experiences, and tuning into your emotional responses. Let's explore 3 powerful exercises to help you uncover your core values. The first is the peak moments exercise. Think back over your life to 3 distinct moments when you felt most alive, fulfilled, or at peace. These aren't just happy memories. They're the times when you felt fully engaged, like you were exactly where you needed to be. Maybe it was overcoming a challenge, traveling to a new place, creating something meaningful, helping someone in need, or sharing a quiet moment with someone you love. Ask yourself, what value was being honored in those moments? Was it connection? The deep bond with another person? Was it courage, facing fear and acting anyway? Was it achievement, pushing yourself beyond what you thought possible? Or maybe it was curiosity, exploring the unknown, learning, growing. Pay attention to the feeling underneath the memory. It reveals the value that makes you come alive. Write these experiences down. For each, describe what happened, and most importantly, how you felt. Notice the themes. Are there common threads? This exercise will start to reveal the values that energize, motivate, and fulfill you. The second powerful exercise is the trigger test. Sometimes we discover what we value not by what brings us joy, but by what frustrates or angers us the most in others. What behaviors, attitudes, or situations consistently get under your skin? Is it dishonesty, laziness, injustice, insensitivity, or lack of ambition? Your strongest triggers often point directly to your deepest values. For example, if you feel enraged by broken promises and lies, one of your core values might be integrity. If you're frustrated when others give up too easily, perhaps perseverance is a value. If disorganization feels intolerable to you, maybe you value order or clarity. Think through your recent frustrations. Who or what presses your buttons? What did you wish would happen instead? Flip the trigger over. Often, the opposite behavior is something you care deeply about, perhaps even a guiding value. Finally, there's the 5-word truth exercise. This simple prompt helps reveal your non-negotiables by asking, I can't live a life without A. Take a few minutes to finish this sentence as many times as you can without overthinking it. What are the words or concepts that insistently come up? Maybe it's kindness, authenticity, purpose, beauty, laughter, service, or adventure. Don't judge your answers or try to pick noble values. Just notice what shows up for you. The words that keep resurfacing are often your most important values. Now, gather the insights from all 3 exercises. You'll likely notice overlaps, Perhaps connection shows up in peak moments and frustration when it's missing. Or adventure appears in both fond memories and in the values you can't live without. From your writings, choose the 5 values that feel most essential, that repeat across the different questions, and that resonate deeply with you. These are your 5 core values. When you define them clearly, you create a personal compass, a way to measure where you are, where you're going, and most importantly, how you want to live along the way. But awareness is only the first step. How can you start living these values day to day? Begin by writing them down. Put them somewhere visible, as a note on your phone, a card on your desk, or a sticky on your bathroom mirror. Let them guide your choices. Before you commit to something new, ask, is this in alignment with my values? If it isn't, have the courage to say no. If it is, go for it with full commitment, knowing you're living your own truth. Pay attention to how your energy changes. Decisions become easier. You worry less about what others think because you're living by your own code. You grow more resilient because you know what you stand for. And gradually, your life starts to feel like it's truly yours. Let's take a deeper look at each exercise so you can experience the transformation for yourself. For the Peak Moments exercise, set aside a quiet time with your journal. Think back to childhood, adolescence, early adulthood, and recent years. What were the 3 moments, big or small, that you remember with vividness and warmth? Maybe it was the time you completed a creative project, took a meaningful risk, stood up for someone, traveled solo, or made a difference in someone's life. Write down the details of what happened. What were you doing? Who were you with? How did you feel physically and emotionally? As you write, ask yourself, what was present in those moments that matters to me? Was it trust, independence, generosity, impact, expression, or learning? Write down any words that come to mind. With the trigger test, think of 3 recent or memorable times when frustration struck. Was it a colleague missing deadlines, a friend who wasn't there when you needed them, or an environment that felt stifling? What about those experiences frustrated you? What was missing? Flip that absence into a positive statement, a value you wish was present. Take 10 minutes to list these triggers and their opposites. For each, jot down a value word that feels true for you. With the 5-word truth exercise, set a timer for 5 minutes and fill in the blank as many times as you can. I can't live a life without tick. Don't censor yourself or worry about the right answer. Afterwards, review your list. Which answers did you repeat or circle back to? These are likely your essential values. Now, with all this information, look for patterns. Which words show up the most? Which ones feel most joyous, true, or essential to who you are? Condense your results into a short list, your 5 core values. Imagine holding these values in your heart as you move through life. When you make choices in alignment with them, you feel at ease, even when the path isn't easy. When you drift from them, you'll sense the dissonance, the flatness, the disconnection, the restless urge for something more. Knowing your values isn't a magic fix for every challenge, but it does give you a sturdy foundation. It helps you make sense of why you've felt lost and offers a way back to clarity and belonging to yourself. Let's take a moment to imagine how your days could look, infused with your 5 values. If curiosity is a core value, you'll seek out learning and new experiences. If compassion matters deeply, you'll act with kindness and seek to understand others. If creativity is central, you'll find ways to express, build, or solve problems uniquely. If authenticity is a must, you'll shed roles that aren't true and choose honesty even when it's tough. Values also help in relationships. When you know and communicate what matters to you, you invite others to understand, respect, and even share in your journey. You connect more deeply because the foundation is clear. You draw in people and opportunities that reflect what you care about, instead of what you think you should care about. The world is full of noise. Trends shift, opinions multiply, and pressures to conform are ever present. But your values are quiet and steadfast. The voice inside that says, "This is who I am. This is what matters. This is the life I want to live." Remember, defining your values is not about picking fancy words or earning approval. It's about rediscovering what your soul already knows. Your 5 core values may evolve over time, but they're always your most honest guide. When you honor them, you find meaning. When you live them, you become truly alive. So, as you move forward, take time for these exercises. Reflect on your peak moments. Notice your triggers. Declare your 5-word truths. Choose your 5 values and let them shape your path. Whenever you feel lost, disconnected, or unsure, return to them. They are your compass, your North Star, your source of alignment and fulfillment. Living your values is the greatest act of self-respect. It's also the surest way to create a life that feels right, deeply, authentically, and joyfully right for you. Once you know your values, life starts to feel very different. What once felt confusing or overwhelming becomes much simpler and clearer. Decisions that used to bring you anxiety or keep you awake at night begin to resolve with almost surprising ease. Instead of constantly searching for others' approval or shape-shifting to meet expectations, you start building a life that is in true alignment with who you are at the core. Your values are the compass you've been looking for. Steady, reliable, unwavering. When circumstances change or the future seems uncertain, your values remain like a North Star, always pointing you in the direction that feels right for you. Honoring your values doesn't just help with the big, life-altering choices. It also informs the small, everyday moments that add up to the story of your life. But knowing your values isn't enough. You must also practice honoring them. That means looking at your life with honesty and asking, where am I truly aligned with who I want to be? And just as importantly, where am I betraying those values? By my choices, my relationships, or my compromises? It can be uncomfortable, but it is also incredibly empowering. Here's your action step. Write down your 5 core values now. These are the qualities or principles that, if everything else was stripped away, you would still cling to. Think deeply. There are no right or wrong answers. Maybe you value honesty, courage, creativity, compassion, growth, family, or adventure. Perhaps it's loyalty, humility, excellence, or independence. Search for the words that resonate most truly with your spirit. Take a moment to write them down. Once you've got your 5, look closely at each one by one. Ask yourself, where in my life am I honoring this value? And where might I be betraying it? Let's explore this together. Imagine your first value is honesty. Perhaps you're proud that you speak the truth with your close friends, or that you stand up for what you believe in at work. But maybe you notice you've been avoiding a difficult conversation with a loved one, or letting small white lies slip by when it feels easier. In those moments, you're betraying that value. Can you see the subtle difference? Or maybe your second value is growth. Does your routine reflect that? Are you seeking out new experiences, reading, learning, or pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone? Or have you noticed periods of stagnation, where you've settled for good enough out of fear or inertia? This process isn't about beating yourself up. It's about compassionate awareness. When you know where you're aligned, celebrate that. When you spot where you're betraying a value, get curious. Why do you drift away from what matters most to you? What could you do differently tomorrow? Imagine living from your values, not just occasionally, but as a daily practice. How would your relationships shift if you consistently honored what matters to you? How would your work or creative projects transform? How would you feel about yourself? The result is alignment. Your thoughts, your words, your actions working together. Imagine the freedom of not chasing external approval. Imagine waking up excited for the day ahead, confident that your choices reflect your true self. Imagine the trust and respect you'll earn from yourself and from others when your actions visibly match your values. As you identify your values, write them in your journal on a sticky note or in the Notes app of your phone. Revisit them often. Before making new commitments, before big decisions, or when you feel lost, ask, does this choice honor my value? You'll be amazed how this one question brings clarity and courage. Now take a moment to comment or share. My 5 values are: give yourself permission to stand by your values, even if it feels uncomfortable or unfamiliar at first. This is the first step to becoming the person you've always wanted to be, someone whose life is a reflection of their deepest truths. And if you're watching or listening this and you haven't already subscribed, now's the time. This journey is just getting started. Tomorrow, we're going even deeper. Together, we'll look forward, past your current circumstances, and ask a powerful question. Where do you want to be 3 years from now? It's not about wishful thinking or empty resolutions. It's about using your values as a foundation for your vision. So the goals you set and the life you build are not just impressive on the outside, but truly fulfilling on the inside. Remember, knowing your values is the beginning. Honoring them every day is the practice. And aligning your goals with those values is how you create a life you're proud of. So let's recap your action step for today. First, write down your 5 core values. Put them somewhere you'll see them often. Let them serve as a daily reminder, a checklist, a commitment, a map. Then, reflect. Look at each value and ask yourself, where in my life am I honoring this value? Where am I betraying it? Get specific. Maybe write out some examples or talk it through with a friend you trust. Finally, share your values with others. Publicly, if you can. Sharing is a form of commitment. And it also inspires those around you to reflect on what matters most to them. As you transition into the rest of your day, I invite you to approach each decision, big or small, through the lens of your values. Before you say yes to a new obligation, before you react to a challenge, pause and ask, what would someone who embodies my values do now? Make that choice, even if it's difficult. Over time, you'll notice something remarkable. The more you honor your values, the less you care about the fleeting approval of others, and the more you attract people and opportunities that match your deeper truth. You've got this. This is the journey of living with integrity, and it starts right here, right now, by anchoring your values. And remember, Day 003 is waiting for you tomorrow. Together, we'll shape your vision for the future. But today, just today, focus on who you are and how you can live that out in every part of your life. Congratulations! You're building a life of alignment, authenticity, and true fulfillment. Keep going.